I told my MIL to stay away from my son's birthday. AITA? Let me start by saying that my MIL has always been a challenging person to deal with. She's the kind of woman who needs to be at the center of every family gathering. Her opinion the loudest, her desires the most important. For years, I've danced around her passive-aggressive comments and need for control. But this year, with my son's 5th birthday coming up, I wasn't about to let her hijack his special day. This was his birthday. And let me tell you, my son was over the moon with excitement. My little boy had his heart set on a chocolate cake with chocolate icing, a perfectly simple request for his special day. He'd been talking about it for weeks, eyes lighting up every time he mentioned the rich, gooey, chocolatey dream he had envisioned for his big day. And of course, being his mother, I was ready to give him exactly that. It's his birthday after all, and birthdays are meant to be special. But then, as usual, my MIL had to chime in. The issue started innocently enough. My son, in his sweet, excited way, was telling his grandma about the cake. "Grandma, I'm gonna have a chocolate cake with chocolate icing and chocolate ice cream. It's gonna be so good." His little face was lit up with pure joy, and for a moment, I thought maybe my MIL would just smile and share in his excitement. But no, of course not. She wrinkled her nose in distaste and said, "Oh, chocolate? I don't like chocolate. Maybe we should get a cake everyone can enjoy, don't you think?" Now, this is a woman who has always made sure her needs are met first. In every family dinner, every holiday, every special occasion, somehow the focus shifts to what she wants. But this time, it wasn't her day. It wasn't about her. And what came next, well, it caught us all off guard. Before I could step in, my son, bless his heart, looked right at her and said, "It's not your birthday, Grandma, so you don't get a say." I'll admit, a part of me was stunned. My 5-year-old just delivered what might have been the most brutally honest thing he'd ever said. And while I know some might consider that disrespectful, the truth was he was just repeating what I had taught him. You see, a few weeks earlier, he had been at a friend's birthday party, and when he didn't like the cake flavor, I had explained to him that it wasn't his day. The birthday person gets to choose their cake, and we should celebrate them, not complain. Apparently, my son had taken that lesson to heart. MIL's face went pale, her eyes wide with shock. You could practically see the gears turning in her head as she tried to process what had just happened. I could feel the tension rising, but before I could defuse the situation, she turned to me, her voice sharp. "Are you just going to let him talk to me like that?" I stayed calm. "He's right, though. It's his birthday, and he gets to pick the cake. Just like I told him before. When it's your birthday, you can have whatever flavor you like." That apparently was the wrong thing to say, because in an instant, she went from shocked to livid. "You're such a **** sage," she spat at me. "And you're raising a spoiled brat?" It took everything in me not to lash out. I'm not usually one for confrontation, but something about her saying that in front of my son, about my son, made me see red. I took a deep breath, trying to stay composed for the sake of my child, and replied, with that attitude, "You won't be coming to the party." I could feel the air crackle with tension. MIL's face twisted in anger, her fists clenched as though she wanted to scream, but instead, she stormed out of the room. My son stood there, wide-eyed, not fully understanding the gravity of the situation, but sensing that something had shifted. And then, there was silence. My husband, who had been quiet up until this point, finally spoke. "What the hell just happened?" I sighed. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. He loved his mother, despite her difficult personality, and he was always the peacekeeper, the one trying to smooth things over. But this wasn't just about keeping the peace anymore. It was about setting boundaries. "Your mom just insulted our son because he's excited about his birthday cake," I said, my voice calm but firm. "And I'm not going to let her get away with that." He rubbed his temples, clearly torn. "Look, I get it. But do you really think it was necessary to tell her she can't come to the parties?" "Yes, I do," I replied, not backing down. "If we give in now, we're just teaching our son that it's okay for people to walk all over him on his special day. That's not the lesson I want him to learn." He looked at me, his face conflicted. I could see the gears turning in his head as he processed what I was saying. After a long pause, he nodded slowly. "You're right. He needs to know that his birthday is his day." The next few days were tense. MIL, in true fashion, doubled down on her outrage. She called my husband and demanded that our son write her an apology note for his disrespect. My husband and I were on the same page by then. Our son had done nothing wrong, and we weren't about to make him apologize for standing up for himself. When MIL realized we weren't budging, she dropped the ultimate bombshell. "If I don't get an apology, I'm not coming to the party, and I won't be buying him a gift." I won't lie. Part of me was relieved. The idea of celebrating my son's birthday, without her hovering over everything, sounded like a dream. But at the same time, it was sad. This was her grandson's birthday, and instead of being happy for him, she was making it all about her. So I told her, "That's all on you." And that was that. When the day of the party arrived, my son had the time of his life. His chocolate cake was everything he dreamed it would be, and he was surrounded by people who loved him. Sure, MIL didn't show up, but honestly, it didn't matter. We were building memories that were about love, happiness, and the joy of celebrating someone for who they are, not about catering to someone else's whims. Looking back, I don't regret a single thing. Sometimes, standing up for your family means standing firm, even when it's uncomfortable. My son is learning that his feelings matter, that his special day is his, and that he doesn't have to compromise on what makes him happy just to please someone else. And as for my MIL, well, that's all on her.